Federal government officials blame a film produced in Duarte as the cause of rage and violence in the Middle East. A bomb threat forces a lockdown at Arcadia High School, and opponents vow to overturn Citizens United. That plus CCN weather next on CCN Crown City News. Your news, your neighborhood, seconds away.
Great business idea? The Pasadena Enterprise Zone can help. The Pasadena Enterprise Zone, open for business.
Hi, I'm Jesse Avila at the Convalescent Aid Society, a nonprofit organization established in 1923. We provide the free loan of durable medical equipment, of hospital beds, wheelchairs, walkers, canes, and many other items. Your donations and contributions are welcome and greatly appreciated. We are located at 3255 East Foothill Boulevard in Pasadena.
We're here to help you.
Please give us a call and check for availability at 626-793-1696.
Hello everybody, thank you for watching CCN Crown City News, your neighborhood. I'm Sehnita Joshua Mattison. Our top story, the raging protests and violence across the Middle East have left many across the United States wondering what's next. On the 11th anniversary of the September 11th attacks, protesters attacked the U.S. consulate building last Tuesday in Benghazi, Libya, killing United States Ambassador Christopher Stevens and 3 other people. The protests in Libya, Egypt, and now throughout the Middle East were allegedly provoked by a film called The Innocence of Muslims. It was produced by a company called Media for Christ, headquartered in the city of Duarte, right here in the San Gabriel Valley. We spoke with members of political movements and residents to bring you a local perspective on the film's perceived effect and the ongoing events unfolding in the Middle East.
You know, it's racist, it's discriminatory. I understand the anger. I'm sorry to see that it happened, but I understand why things like that happen. And I think that the role of the Obama administration in trying to say the U.S. government had nothing to do with it, we don't condone this sort of thing. I heard a statement from Hillary Clinton who said words to that effect. I think was completely appropriate. So for Romney and these right-wing forces and Republican forces to try and make an issue out of this, I think is shameful.
This video was a pretext for the attacks. These attacks had been in the planning stage for some time. 9/11 was an attack. The prior attempt to bring down the towers in 1993 with the blind sheikh. You just go down the list of attack on American embassies and interests throughout the world. This is only the latest example. Violence has been going on for some time. And this video is nothing but a red herring. And besides that, what the administration should have been saying, and Romney was eager to say, was that you cannot use this video as a pretext for carrying out acts of murder.
If they did attack those embassies based on that video, and people lost their lives, I think that that's really sad, because they don't really, I don't know that the people in the Middle East really understand that our culture differs in that our government does not tell us what we can and cannot say. My thought is maybe when they saw the video, they think, okay, well, this represents how America feels about, you know, about Muslim people.
In the end, people who choose war over peace, you know, they're not going to find good results, because war just destroys. War doesn't build anything. Okay. And they need to just cool off and drop all their, you know, they need to let go of all the baggage, all the bloodshed.
Well, it seems the honeymoon is over for the Arab Spring that spread throughout the Middle East last year, and now the brazen killing of an American diplomat and violent protests over what some say is an offensive anti-Muslim video has ushered in what some are calling an Arab winter. Most Americans can't fathom how an internet film, which by almost all accounts is an amateurish spoof about Islam, could possibly provoke such violence. The question now is, what does this mean for U.S. foreign relations in these Muslim countries? Ibrahim Naeem from the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community Organization joins us live to give us his perspective. Thank you for being here, Mr. Naeem.
Thank you, Sehnita.
Now, I wanted to ask you quickly, have you seen this video?
No, I haven't.
Is that something you chose not to seek out, or?
No, it's just that I haven't had the opportunity.
It wasn't available, okay. Now, this was done by a small filmmaker in California, locally here. Why do you think that it has such an impact?
Well, first of all, I'd like to condemn categorically the violence that has erupted in the Middle East around this film. There are two issues, I think, that really are at the heart of this matter. First is whether free speech can be unfettered and has no consequences, and two, how people respond to that. And then I guess the third element is the cross-cultural divide that we have between how others see us and how we see ourselves, and vice versa.
Now, I do appreciate you coming right out and condemning the violence. I think what was hard for a lot of Americans is not necessarily, seeing the categorical, renunciation of these events. I know even in Egypt, what they were saying is that they were sending us messages in English, kind of saying that they were against the violence, but the messages they were putting out in Arabic weren't as strongly worded in that effect. How do you think this is coming out in the Muslim communities over there? Do you think that they are, is it just a small group of people who are doing these attacks? I know they're saying it's anywhere from 100,000 to 1 million. Obviously, that's a huge range, but it's a good number of people over there who are doing these. But considering there's a billion Muslims in the world, is it just a small fraction?
Well, it doesn't take very many to cause a lot of chaos, and so I don't think we can look at the Muslim world as a monolithic entity, that there are many Muslims who are as characterized by many of the signs that we saw that were really flabbergasted and saddened by the violence and supportive of the U.S. At the same time, we have to understand that the cultural issues and the misunderstanding and misrepresentation of Islam, for me, is the primary issue. I'm not a statesman or a politician. I am a Muslim, and so I can speak to you in terms of what the true teachings of Islam dictate. And one, violence is not an appropriate response to a movie, as it was not appropriate in the case of even the book Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie. So that's categorical and primary. Secondly, though, as I said, free speech has its limits. We have a society where we say we have free speech, and we do have considerable free speech, but not without some restriction. Hate speech is not permitted. We can't go out and incite to riot with our speech, and so even our society has some limits on free speech.
Absolutely, but violence against that hate speech or any of that, that's not justified. So we do go against hate speech, and we have laws against that. But if violence was incited, those people aren't justified in their reaction.
That's why I categorically renounce that from the very beginning. That is not Islamic in any sense.
But for some, I mean, obviously, a lot of the people who are following Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, we hear that Islam is a peaceful religion, and I believe it's probably like the Bible. There's the Old Testament, New Testament. There are certain versions that some hold more dear than others. But some say that the extremists are doing just what Muhammad has called for in the Quran, to fight infidels and to go against anything that was said against him. So what do you say to those people?
I say that they're novice in the Quran, and I'd be happy to teach them as much as I know.
So there's nothing in the Quran calling for death to infidels?
You know, those verses are not understood in context, and everything has context. The issue here would be considered blasphemy. If you've spoken ill against a prophet, then that would be considered blasphemy. And so the Quran actually points out that, that there are many instances in the Quran where the Prophet of Islam was blasphemed against himself, but he never ever took an action against those who blasphemed him.
Now, were those earlier accounts of the Prophet and later accounts as he grew in power?
No, no. This is, it's not I'm saying categorically, that's what happened. He never responded to blasphemy with an act of violence.
So what are these extremists following? Because obviously they're saying this is the Quran that we're following. These are the words of the Prophet that we're following. So what are they following?
When you become really knowledgeable of the Quran, you understand it, and then you understand also that people have taken the book and used it for their own purposes. They have you have a mass of people who are not that cognizant of the book, and they rely on their leaders, clerics, we call them mullahs, who have their own political ends that they're trying to achieve. And so it's not so much a religious issue now as it is a political issue. They have. I made a comment on 9/11 regarding the fact that the terrorists, I think, hijacked more than 3 airliners. They hijacked the religion of Islam, so that now Islam is associated with terrorism. But those terrorists and those who conduct themselves in that manner are in fact called to question by their own religion.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of those countries are theocracies, and they have growing influences of conservative powers who are taking control. So I think there is a shift. But what I do appreciate is you coming out and speaking against the violent actions that are over there, because I think many of the people over there are a little bit scared to do so, rightfully so, with the violence. So I appreciate what you are doing, and I hope that more Muslims do speak out against the violence.
I think that there's a growing voice of moderate Islam, and I'm hopeful that you'll hear more of that coming from the Middle East.
Well, I truly hope so, and I thank you for the courage that you've
pleasure.
taken. Thank you for being here.
Thank you,
Mr. Naeem. Well, a bomb threat forces an Arcadia High School lockdown, and the Supreme Court may have ruled it constitutional, but that doesn't stop a local organization's fight against Citizens United. That plus CCN meteorologist Curtis Peak lets us know what to expect as fall rolls in. You're watching CCN Crown City News, your neighborhood.